Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and watches things inevitably fail and fall apart and explode. Mostly the explode part, if I'm lucky. If it fails invisibly, that's the really worst part, I think. Anyways, I have my fan on today because it's 23 degrees Celsius, to be clear, which is somewhere in the vicinity, I think, of 100 Fahrenheit. So my hair is blowing everywhere, including directly into me. It's lovely. But anyways, last week we managed to establish a thing called the Species Select screen. Don't mind these fellows. And that basically allows us to pick and choose whatever species we would like. This is not the final look of it, so I'm actually kind of bored. I'm not as big a fan of the dirt background as I thought I would be, but anyways. So yeah, we can just go through this, pick whatever we like, and it'll give us the corresponding abilities. There was formerly a problem related to, especially the creature types, because creature types have abilities built into them, so that you can get a bunch of things for free, essentially. So if I pick that, then I get all of this stuff over here, and that was fine as long as it was a static ability, like natural armor, or like fast healing or such. But if it was something like the Green Dragon's flight ability, then it's live, it's activated, you click a button, it changes the NBT data, and that can change the whole ability. So yeah, that turned out to be a problem, because basically meant that if you had, for instance, the air subtype, everyone was sharing one copy of flight, essentially. So I have since gone over the code in the back with a fine knit comb to do basically nothing. So let's go have a look at that, shall we, real quick. It's not dreadfully interesting, but I will nonetheless show it off to you. It was a lot of work, but it was the kind of thing I couldn't really do on camera because you'd been bored out your teeth, essentially. So we now have a cache. Much to the delight of the Forge Devils, I'm sure. But we now have a cache, and that cache basically contains all of your copies of a given ability. So when we boot in and we ask for all of the abilities from our creature types, you get a clone of those put into cached abilities. Cached abilities is then what everything asks for. So rather than trying to reconstruct the entire ability map from scratch every single time it's needed, we just ask living data for the abilities for the cached abilities. Which is a lot cheaper and a lot faster, so that's a good sign for optimization. And then, when every so often, essentially, the cache gets marked as dirty, meaning it needs to be refreshed and checked through again. And whenever that happens, we more or less just boot our way through the whole thing. Where are you? There you are. We get to the current abilities, which is rebuilding everything from scratch, and then we go through that, we compare things that are missing, things that are new, that don't appear in the current cached abilities list, that kind of thing. We also, because why go for underkill when you can go for massive overkill, I guess, we have a concept of a source ID now in the abilities, meaning we know where every single ability comes from. So, if it comes from your species, if it comes from your custom abilities, if it comes from your creature types, we can identify exactly which one of those it came from. And that means that if the one that's in your cached abilities doesn't have the same source ID as the one that's inside of your current abilities, we can overwrite it one with the other to make sure you've got the accurate version at the time. Massive pain in the neck getting that sorted, but works quite happily. Previously, like early on in the development of that, I was making it so that every single species had to have its own unique source ID. Now it's more just like origin species. So, not as huge of a problem there. But that was a lot of work, and it slightly melted my brain for the day, but got it working, so now all of your abilities are yours and yours alone, so you don't need to worry about somebody else using them, which is pretty nice. There is, like, the first thing we'll be doing today, though, is here we are in single player. We can see all of the species that are in our thing quite happily, but in server play, I discovered that there is in fact nothing in the list. So we need to make sure that A, the server actually has data to use, and B, that it actually tells the client what it has, so that it can actually boot it up and, like, use it. So we're gonna start the day off by making a packet for the server to send to the client to tell it, hey, here's all of the species that we have on the server. Fairly straightforward. Anyways, how is everybody else? I'm slightly melting, but I think I'll be okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's a new ability since you guys were last here. Where are you? There we go. Okay, Poison got a slight overhaul. It is now an extension of ability melee damage, which is basically any ability that triggers when I punch you with an empty fist, essentially. That is the only time that these abilities should trigger. So Poison, for instance, you have to punch someone with an empty hand in order to inflict a poison ability. Hot on the heels of that, and the reason that I did that is because I also implemented Rend. This one should be familiar to a few people, because this is, firstly, it's an ability of the Ubervision, who is coming, and it is also heavily inspired by an ability possessed by the Wolfman lycanthropes of the Witchery mod way back when. Basically meaning that whenever you hit somebody with an empty hand, trigger the melee ability, as it were, you will deal a random, to a random piece of armor that they are wearing, if they're wearing any, of course, a configurable amount of damage, but about 25% by default, of that item's entire durability. Meaning that as you punch people, their armor breaks very, very quickly. Now, of course, durability can be irrelevant in modded Minecraft because a lot of armor pieces, especially on the top tier, are just indestructible by rote. So, just in case that happens, it gets knocked off of them entirely. Should they happen to be made from extremely odd plant matter, for instance, in the case of mystical aggreditions. So this is very much like you've got big old claws and you are hecking people up and like just tearing them asunder, that kind of thing. It's that kind of ability. So by default it's 25%, that's 1/4, so theoretically 4 hits on the same piece of armor should break it. But yeah. That I think is the biggest thing that's changed most recently. I don't think anything else up here has changed. Yeah. I do need to remember to add tile entities to the rendering for blindness, because currently you can't see your own bed. Which is a bit of an oversight, I have to admit. Anyways. We're gonna need a packet to send across all of these, so let's grab that. Packet, sync, species. Later on, we'll have one as well for templates. Once we get species nailed down, templates are our next stop. That will include things like being a lich, things like being a vampire, potentially things like being a werewolf, but I don't know just yet how to implement changing of forms and especially rendering when it comes to abilities, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so we're going to need a compound, because we're going to need species data. I think it'll be list species. Registry in. Let's see, because we have the species registry there, but that's more accurately, this is the default species. And then handling it as a data value rather than an actual list of species. So let's see, where are you? Registries. Okay. Map. That's what I need. Okay. Okay, every species should have a built-in registry name. So we should be able to just use that, but let me quickly check how it's loaded in. So for each name species, put name. Okay, where is the name retrieved from? Just the file name. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, that should do just fine. Hey again. Happy Pride. Okay, so we're going to need a list NBT. There is no an existing function to just write this into that, so yeah. Okay, data equals list NBT. And then for, yeah, might as well do for each. Registry in dot values for each I don't tend to do loops like this, but for each works. Okay, so first thing we need to store is the name. How do I go about learning to do this kind of stuff? Oh, it's a saga. The first thing that I... Well, the first thing I guess that got me into programming was Gary's mod. Way back when. There was an add-on for Gary's mod called Wire Mod, and that had a thing in it called Expression 2, which was a little programmable chip that ran on Lua code. So that got me started there. And then, years and years later, actually, out of quick curiosity, what is my playtime on Gary's mod? More than any MMO I've ever played. After that, I started up in university. I was originally just studying digital forensics, but yeah, got distracted a little bit, I have to say. And then I started working... I started core modding Minecraft, which is to say I cracked open Minecraft and reprogrammed it. I think the first thing I did was I turned a snowman into a machine gunner. And just over time after that, I've gotten better and better at this. I wouldn't say I'm good, but... I just want to put a string of a name to, let's see, species.registry name. And I believe we can, in fact, write the whole thing. Oh, right, no, we can't, because species instance does that. And this is not a species instance, this is the species. So let's have a look at species real quick. Yeah, we have two JSON. We do not have from... We have two JSON and from JSON. We do not have two MBT and from MBT, like down here. Okay, we need to change that up. Oh yeah, species, I should mention, also have a dimension value here. So we can use that later on to actually set where you are from, if you're an extra dimensional species. Do I have X to JSON? I don't. I only have JSON to... I only have, like, species to JSON. That's it. You've been thinking of learning how to make mods, but you've just never known where to start. It's not very friendly, I have to say. It's not like a good... It's not a good, like, first thing to get to grips with. Excuse me while I sit like someone who is not the least bit neurotypical or straight. Let's see, we mostly just want to do that. Just change all instances of JSON to MBT. That would be a list. That would also be a list. That would be a boolean. That would be an integer. Nope, is it just put int? Yeah. Full length name for boolean. Shortened one for int. I don't know why. Oh, I need string. That's why. There, that solves that part. This always worries me, turning an NBT into a string and bringing it back. Well, actually, if it's just an NBT like that, we should just be able to add it like that. There we go. That part's fine. Type, not so much, but that's fine. Okay. And then there's the reverse. So let's see, we need a resource location, a registry name. Which we also didn't store, so we need to put that there. Yes, good. Okay. That just gets us a species with that registry name. But it won't take us very long to get everything else. Okay. Let's see. So, just skipping ahead very slightly here. Now we need the compound NBT that is the entire list of this. So, species, data, put. And you just want species dot to NBT, or store in NBT. Okay, and species data equals a fresh NBT in which we will store that list. There. Okay. Now let's make sure this actually does scan everything, because otherwise there's almost no point sending it. Okay. What is Boolean NBT? I think it's just false by default, so that's a thing we should be okay with getting. Power should just return 0, I think. Yeah. A few primitives we can actually just take the value that we get even if it's not there. More complex things are a bit more of a pain. Yeah, so player select, power, those are all definitely stored, but dimension not so much, so we want to make sure we have. What is the ID value of this? 8. I could have sworn it was has-key or contains, but not anymore. Nope. It's just contains. Okay. Fine by me. Okay. List NBT is a bit more complex because it's different depending upon the data it's storing. So let's see, the list NBT itself is ID value 9, but compound NBT, which is the thing that it contains in this case, is 10, I think, or 8? 10. Okay. Let's see, that was 9? Yeah, 9 and 10. There. Okay. Let's see, so type list. Oh wait, no, that's strings, it's something else. What was strings again? Was strings 8? Anybody remember? I can't. Goldfish. Okay. So types, they're okay, right, yes. There, okay. Here, on the other hand, it's actually the other thing. I swear there's a lot of this that just goes back and forth, which is just getting this whole thing to convert from two different kinds of data, because for whatever reason they're stored in completely different things. So in the hard drive it's stored as JSON data, but in the actual code and such it's stored as NBT, and it's really... But these two things are completely separate architectures, so you can't just convert one directly from it to the other. But okay, that looks like it's all set, I think. Yeah, there's a custom name, which I haven't fully implemented, but you can set a custom name for when it's displaying. So for like when it's on the actual species select screen. Otherwise it just sort of parses its own registry name as a name. But it's not actually stored in data anymore. Any link right now, so. Okay. Fairly certain we got everything there. So. Settlement data seems the obvious choice here for an example. Decode, encode, handle. 3 main functions we need. Okay, that looks good. It doesn't really much matter which side we receive this on. We don't need a player, we just need to get the registry. And the registry is a public static object that we can just grab wherever. So clear whatever we have there. And then we need to recombobulate everything here to get all the other stuff. Do we need the name? We store the registry name in the MBT, so I actually don't think we do. Good thing I checked that, because otherwise this would not have worked at all. Right. Okay. So we need to retrieve the list of data for species from message. Which it helps is the right kind of message. Get list, and we're looking for species of type 9, because we remember that's what... Yeah, that's the sound of my brain right now. We remember that that was as a... What was list NBT 9? Yes, it was. Okay. And we need to get a 10 from that, because they're all stored as NPTs. Okay. Species equals species dot, and we need to make that static so we actually have access to that all the time. Create from MBT, get compound I. Okay. We shouldn't get a null from that, but just in case, let's surround it in a try-catch. So then, VO registries dot species dot put species get registry name species. There. That should all be good. I don't see any references here to things that shouldn't be in here. So yeah, I think that's good. Let's stick that into our packet handler. This always ends up happening. You can make the simplest of things in the world, but you always seem to end up needing like 1,500 different types of packet. Right, next stop. Synchronization. So there's... yes, there we are. Player login event. So, packet handler send to that player. New packet sync species VO registries.species. Being the server event bus, we pretty much always know that that's going to be on the correct side. Okay. Moment of truth. Boot up the server and see if we can see any species. Good start, it hasn't crashed. Yet. Under these circumstances, it shouldn't crash, but shouldn't and does are very different things. Just imagine me being a weird computer bug to death with, like, a sword made out of zeros and ones right now. Yeah, yeah. Take this, try, catch, exception, E. Okay. Alright. I should have access to commands here, so... Species... Select... Oop, helps if I actually type it. Me. And nothing, because there's nothing on the server, apparently. Or at the very least, my client doesn't think there is anything on the server. Okay. Because it just... If there's no species in the data, then it just closes instantly because it's just auto-selects none. Which is more of a time-saving feature than anything else. Okay, so... Let me see if I can check the server log there. And more importantly, the server data. There's nothing in there, but there also shouldn't be. My understanding of things is correct, which admittedly it really is. Okay, let's hop over to here and give ourselves a log message. Okay. So now there'll actually be a log message whenever it sends that and receive it, and we see how many it sent us. If it sends us nothing, then we know there's nothing on the server. If it does send us stuff, we know the problem's in the screen. I saw some species being loaded there, including lizard folk, so it should have some. Actually, I should be able to run some here. So species list. Yeah, 6 registered species on the server. I'm glad I made that debug. Always make debug commands and such before you think you'll need them. Whoop. Index out of bounds? Now how did that happen exactly? Concurrent modification exception. Ooh. I don't know, but it doesn't happen twice. How very odd. Okay, synchronizing species on client, 0 species. Aha, interesting. So the data that we got back was empty. Interesting, interesting. So there's our problem. Can we fix this in the first hour of the stream? Well, I guess we'll find out, won't that part should be fine and good. Yes. That part's fine and good as well. We are referencing it from the message rather than here, aren't we? Yeah, that's all good. Okay. So then, how is it empty? We knew it had species when we arrived because we typed species list in the console and it showed us that there were 6 total species. So why did those not make it back in? Hey, so, how you doing? Okay, so we'll have a message from the server and a message on the client telling us, ostensibly, how many we actually managed to send through. This does, yep, return an MBT, so it should all be good. Okay, run. Yeah, if you want to get to making mods, there's a couple of mods I think that are just for like making a mod kind of mods, those kind of things. Like Mod Maker, I think, is a thing that exists. Never really had to play with it myself, but I think it exists. There's definitely a whole the language that you'd want to look into for making mods for Minecraft specifically is called Java, much like the coffee. And everything after that, you should be able to just find a whole bunch of stuff. There are tutorials. It is a very deep slog to get into Minecraft modding, I have to say. And the established developers are not friendly people. Really quite a tragedy, that. Okay. Species list. How many does the server have? 6. Good. Okay, so when we log in, we should see 6. Sending species to client, 6 species. Whereas the client received 0. Interesting. How did that happen? So it said we sent 6, but we received 0. Like right there. That's the server telling us that there are. Hang on. That's the server right there telling us that it has 6 species and it's trying to tell the client about them. But down here, on the client, we find there's nothing there. So, is it because I've given it the wrong name? Nope, it is the right name. Okay, have I given it the wrong MBT value? By ID? Nope, it's 9. So that is fine. Surely this will also crash if it's that anyways. Yes, there would probably be a problem there. Interesting. We have a mystery. Okay, so somehow the data that we get through is null, is empty. But we can see it being written here and retrieved there. So let's write out exactly what data goes in. Okay. Little bit overkill, but better over than under. At this point, I can turn a species into JSON. I can turn it into NPT. I could probably turn it into an aardvark for all I needed. Once again, we spotted the loading process there, so the server definitely has species in it. My leg before it falls asleep on me. Holy. Average tick time 1 millisecond. You'll love to see it. Doesn't last for very long frequently, but it's there. Okay. Right. So we do see everything here. So types, undead can't select. That'll be a necropolitan, I guess. There's the lizard folk, archfey, green dragon. Yeah, so we are definitely sending it. Good. Good to see. Good to see. Stored, encoded. Good. That part's fine. What happens over here? Okay, decoded. Good, we found it. We just weren't able to turn it back into a species, apparently. Which is odd, but... yeah, right here. This line right here tells us that that does make it all the way through, but it doesn't get actually turned into species, somehow. Okay, well, we know where our problem is. Okay. Let's get rid of that, because, well, that part can stay at least. Once they're actually locked, we can probably keep it. Okay, so we definitely put it, we know it's a list. Why do we end up getting nothing out of it though? That's the weird part. Okay. That part looks good. Yes. It's not something to do with that. Let's see what we get there. Real quick. The other thing is I have to basically reboot everything every time here, but that's the massive hassle of doing multiplayer coding. love the fact there is a texture pack for the painter in Terraria that turns him into Bob Ross. Oy. I mean, there'd have to be, wouldn't there? That's almost inevitable. I will say we are using a lot of memory there, which is not the best thing in the world, but the average tick time is minimal, so there's that. Okay. Yeah, data is empty. There is nothing there. Interesting. Have I mistyped something? I have presumably mistyped something somewhere. But it feels like I got it right, so... Oh! I am an idiot. I think. I'm asking it for the wrong type of list. So I think that's the problem. Right. Real quick. Let's see if this will work. I don't think I'll necessarily have to crank the server as well for this, but let's see. And to the random nobody in chat asking if I know what I look like, I do. I look damn hot. Which is a nice change from the first 25-ish years of my life. Okay. Setting species to client, 6 species. Synchronizing species on client, 6 species. Yay! We got it. Okay, so now... slash species select dev. We got everything. Grand. Grand and good. Yeah, everything's here. Good. Good, good, good. And if I hit select, I have Dimension Door, I have Hearthstone, I have all the abilities. Good! We managed to get that done in 1 hour. Okay. I'll be back in about 10 minutes, everybody. Go get yourselves a snack and pop the loo and grab all the amenities for being a human. I know it sucks, but yeah, I gotta deal with it. And I'll be back after this short break. Welcome back, everybody. Look, a nice little break there. So, before, very just before, in fact, we managed to get the server to sync its species with the client, so the client will always have the exact set and details of species that the server that they are currently on has. This was important for a significant period of getting the client to actually know what species are available when they're selecting them on the species selection screen, but there is a hidden secondary advantage of this, which is that now the server and the client don't have to have the same data packs. The client could have whatever one they use in single player, for instance, and the servers will use whatever ones they want, and you will only ever have the species and the properties of those species that are on the server. This is a recurring thing for, like, Origins. I don't know how they've managed to do that problem, because it's actually easier to solve than it is to create, but bleh. Anyways, we do have to run one more little test of that, and that is to go into a server world where we do not currently have our actual data to see if the first instance of the species select screen opening actually has all of our actual species. So, 1 second while I go to the server side here, because I just want to make one little thing here. There we go. So, just gonna send that there, so that I know that there is no possible way that the species select screen can open without you having been sent that packet first. Just to be very, very clear. And I think now I have to delete the world. Cause I guess I can, I guess I can just take out, let's see. It's either the stats part or the player data part. I think it's that part. So let's just yonk that. Run the server. Hopefully that will mean that our living data no longer exists, so it won't know that we've never actually selected a species, or it won't know that we have, more specifically, I guess. So when it reinstantiates it, it should actually show us the screen. As I say, testing for multiplayer is always a massive pain in the neck, but gotta do it, or else basically no one ever uses your mods. Dusty, that message was sent like 84 years ago. You're only just responding to it now? I'm disappointed in your luggage. Okay. See what we got. Please be the screen. Show me a screen. Yay! Grand and good, we got everything. Let's pick Necropolitan. Why not? Yeah. I did also change the language a little bit over here. Hang on, I can just... So before, this used to just say immune to death, immune to enchantment, but now it actually says immune to death spells, to be a bit clearer. It's mostly irrelevant at the moment because the spells are non-existent, but the system is in place, it's just not populated. Because that's its own mod. But hurrah, so if I go to survival, yep, I do have health. I feel like when you change creature types, it should actually just update your health to full, but on the other hand, there may be effects that change your creature type, and we don't necessarily want them inherently to be healing, which is what that would be. So, I don't know. Anyways, verified that works, so we can do something a little bit more fun. Okay. I do need to add the species on login. I haven't figured out yet if that should be a config setting or a game rule. In theory, I can make it be a game rule that is set by default by the config, but I think maybe it should just be the config setting. That makes more sense to me, but thing is, if it's, I'm trying to think, is the my brain's hanging. Hang on, 1 second. Let me reboot this process. If it's not remote, okay, so it would just be the server side that sends that packet. Okay, so I was thinking if you change your config on the client side, you could theoretically have the species select screen pop up when you load into a server that doesn't actually have that. So yeah, we probably can just shove that into the config then. So let's see, what do we want to, how do we want to put this? Spawn settings, yeah, spawn config, type settings, faction settings, probably just wants to go in here, actually. It's just a boolean. Yep. Select species, login. Here we go. And we'll have that default to true. I think I can add a comment to this. Nope, apparently not. Comment, there you are. There. And then living data. Okay, so trying to think here. If config vo dot mobs dot, where are you? Did I not make it up? I must be looking in the wrong place. 1 second. Nope, that should be fine. So I cannot see it. Oh, because it's private. That's why. So, let's see, select species on login.get. Then do all of that. Else, this dot selected species. True. Hey SD, how you doing? I have no other idea how on earth to pronounce that name, so apologies for that. From West Wales, how are you guys doing? This has to be like prime mosquito time. Okay, that should mean that we now have a config value to set whether or not we have selected species. And it defaults to true, so it should happen all the time. Trying to think, how do I test this? Because logically, in order to create a world, I have to actually log into it. I guess I can just modify by dealing with player data. Yeah, that'll do the trick. Run the server just to update up. Yes, Tim. Okay, gotcha. Well, that's good to know, Sectarian. Your cat woke you back up. Oh no. I have heard it said that these streams are very relaxing to watch. You can more or less just put me on in the background and just listen to problem-solving ASMR. Okay. Server config. Don't see one. What's in here? Wait, when it's loading an event, only assumptions. Interesting that those are separate things. Very good for getting you to actually do stuff. Well, that's good to know, I guess. That or like sleeping further is now in between. Well, you're not wrong. Okay. That's the wrong folder. That's the one I want. Okay. Select species on login. True. Okay. So we go here, we go there, we get rid of that. Then when we log in as dev, we should see a screen. And if we change that to false, and then we log in and do the same thing again, we should see no screen. Because not everybody wants to pick a... Not everybody wants to install various oddities and use it like Origins mod. Often watch and look in the background. Well, it's nice to see you chatting too. Always nice to have people chatting while I'm doing all this, because it makes me feel less like I'm talking to a brick wall, which, with this code, I frequently am. Okay, log in. I should see a screen. Good. Okay. Change the config. And then I should not see a screen. Yep, wrong thing again. I saw her scream. Well, you know, Sinner's future. It'll do that. Want to boot up your computer and play some modded Sunewis servers? Well, if you're looking for a modded Minecraft server... The joke is that there's one on my Patreon. Okay, so now the server does not know I've logged in, and the config is set to not open the species select screen when you first log in. So, let's see how it goes. Yeah, if Dusty actually types out Patreon fullstop.com/lying, it will actually, Dusty will actually get sat on by Moobot. Okay, joining the world, shouldn't see a screen. Yay, goods. Okay. That option has now been implemented. Okay, all good. Right, now we could move on to adding templates, but that'll take us an utter age anyways. So what we're next going to try and work on is burrowing and swimming, which are the two movement modes that we have not implemented as yet, and burrowing is significant because it is actually used by one of the subtypes. If we have a look at them, the Earth subtype in particular has a feature that is pseudo-burrowing, but it doesn't really work for some strange reason. I'm not 100% certain why that is, but yeah. Which is it increases your mining speed for rock and earth materials by 30%, but for whatever reason this doesn't work. It just sort of like rolls over and then it breaks. So we want to make the earth types look like the earth subtypes significant, so we're gonna try and implement burrowing. Swimming technically already exists in Minecraft. So, really, it would just be like a ability with a cooldown that gives you like Dolphin's Grace, essentially. Or maybe not Dolphin's Grace, because Dolphin's Grace is ridiculously powerful. Just like... Oof. For how active the chat is tonight, I'm surprised I haven't had to do any squats yet. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Anyways, so yes, we want to try and implement the burrowing ability, and the burrowing ability is a little complicated, because it's basically no clip. At least as for the vast majority of Minecraft, it is basically no clip. Let me just bring that up over there. Oh, there we are, so thank you. A creature with a burrow speed can tunnel through dirt, but not through rock unless the descriptive text says otherwise. Creatures cannot charge or run while burrowing. Most burrowing creatures do not leave behind tunnels other creatures can use. See the individual creature descriptions for details. So, let's first establish our booleans, shall we? And I shall do my squats. Where are you? Move mode. There you are. Okay, this, I'm gonna presume, is predominantly a extraordinary ability, which is to say, derived from the creature's self, as opposed to magic or strange anatomy, that kind of thing. Public static, final, resource location. So, we need a boolean for can burrow stone, which we will default to false, and we need a boolean for leaves tunnel, which will also default to false. Okay. Being able to burrow and leaving a tunnel is like a really significant thing for players, because that would basically mean you effectively have a free mine capacity. Like, wanna get a whole ton of dirt? Well, you got it. That part's easy. That said, if you can't burrow through stone, then it's not as valuable. If you can burrow through stone and leave a tunnel, then... oh. That's pretty powerful for getting through the world. Anyways. Welcome to my second camera. Technically speaking, this is my original camera. This is the Logitech C920 that I actually started YouTube with. Actually, I don't know, there was one other camera before I had the C920. Not for very long, it was there. Anyways, if you didn't know, I have a medical condition that leads me to gain weight, and you can make me do 1,420 squats very slowly. But yes, I was also like very low on weight before the pandemic anyways, so my doctor realized I was gaining weight from this medical condition, and then also said, hey, you need to put on weight. So, gaining a lot of weight. So to offset some of that, we're doing squats. Straightforward. Shirt is very good. Why, thank you. It's, at this point, one of the many flags of LGBT I can wear. Gonna do some bow restringing? Oh, right, yes. Okay, so, we started out at 10,000 channel points, or yips. We're now down to 800 per 20 squats, so here we go. I'm on camera to prove I'm doing them, because otherwise I would absolutely not do them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. Phew. Phew. Yeah, I wear a lot of tank tops these days, it has to be said. What can I say? I did a long, hard think about what kind of fashion actually appeals to me, and it turns out very little of it involves sleeves. But I do kind of rock a tank top, so, you know. Okay. So, we've established they can burrow dirt by default. So, the next question is, can they burrow stone? Can they leave a tunnel? The major question here is, how do they go down? Because every player is going to, by default, spawn on the surface, so if you spawn and you pick a species that gives you the burrowing ability, how do you go downwards? Do you just have to go, like, find a cave or the side of a mountain or something? And if you can't, like, burrow for stone, then going into a cave, you still can't go up. So, Growing fond of crop tops? I do look good in a crop top. I look good shirtless these days. Not completely topless, but, like, I can rock a sports bra. And hey, it's the pandemic and it's summer and it's really freaking hot, so I do that a lot. Run directly into a wall, yeah. All of the movement modes are toggles, so you would click the thing, it would say burrow as opposed to burrowing, and then you just ran directly at the wall. Okay. Where's flight? There is a slight bug with flight, I have noticed, which is that it starts off turned on, which is not necessarily a good thing. Okay, that should default to false, surely. Yes. Ah, yeah, is active. Right, let's turn that off, shall we? You shouldn't get a special movement mode that is turned on by default because it creates some difficulties. There we go. So let's see, burrow dot can burrow stone equals compound get boolean allow stone, I guess that would be. Those will default to false anyways if they're not present, which means is also our default values. Okay, doesn't currently do anything, but it's a step closer to doing something. Let's see, we don't need that open. Don't need that, shouldn't need that. Nope. I guess technically speaking, we need ability registry. Registry, register, new ability, burrow, builder. Okay. And let's drop that into our lang as well. Okay, translated name needs to also recognize what state we're in. Did I call it burrow or burrowing? Burrow, okay. And let's get our combat table, shall we? Okay, so if can burrow stone, then compound dot put boolean allow stone. And the same again for if we leave eternal. Technically you can also have different speeds, but we'll deal with that when we get this working at all. So we've got the lang for it, we've got it in the registry, we should now be able to just give it to ourselves. And it won't do anything, but seeing if it toggles at all is a good start. Love the idea of just being able to dig directly into the ground to escape your Minecraft problems. I mean, the same thing with flight, essentially. And teleportation. 3 different abilities that definitely already exist. I guess, technically speaking, swimming also lets you escape your problems. More or less at the same speed as everyone else, except periodically much, much faster. Okay. Hopping in here. Right. Abilities, dev, add. There you are. It's called burrowing, which is maybe a little problematic, but it should be fine. And if I just quickly shift to Archfey, I should retain that, because that's how that works. Yay. Okay, so if I hit my boolean, with flying eventually you have to land. You might get hungry after a while, but there's no actual requirements. Okay. Good, 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 good. If you're in the ground, you're down there. Yeah. I guess it would depend on, like, how near the surface you were. Okay, enum creature type. Let's get this thing started. burrow. Okay, so now Earth Clan has the burrow ability, so for the moment, at least, I can go with the type bus and remove that here. Okay. So rock and earth are the materials. It is very important to pay attention to what materials you are mining, because as people recently found out on the Cumblog Home and my Patreon server, a lot more things than you might expect are wooden. Because the rats have been eating them. What's the best way to learn programming? I know it's not a very helpful thing to say, but hecking do it. Just do it, and ideally do it as much as frequently as possible. Like, I started out years ago making a snowman shoot arrows at absurd speeds, and now I'm turning Minecraft into a full-blown RPG. So you just gotta get down and start it. Especially figure out something that you would like to do, and then try and work out what, like, the first smallest step you can do to get there. Now that can be several steps before you advance the stage, but know where and get there. Okay, so let's have a look at one of our other abilities that deals with phasing. There it is. This is not quite the ability that we're looking for, because this does a bunch of other things. Is not toggleable by itself, that sort of thing. So we want to make sure that we can get this working. But this would more or less do the trick. And I feel like this is probably the best way to go. Wait, this ability, I should clarify, is used for Etherealness, Incorporeality, and Ghost Form, which are 3 different abilities that are basically only used by ghosts, essentially. And it does exactly what we need it to do. We would just have to re-implement the toggle of ability movement mode, which is maybe a good thing. Or we can actually just implement ability phasing as a interface, which is basically something that we can tack on to different classes, and it would have more or less the same thing. It would have basically the same effect. For clarity, an interface is like a little sticky note on something, and everything that has the same sticky note on it can be read as that thing. Whereas a superclass, for example, this extends from ability, that being the superclass, you can only have one, but you can have an unlimited number of interfaces. So, like, you can have lined paper, and then you can do whatever you like on that, but there's always going to be the lines on the paper. But it can have, like, sticky notes on it that say do other things. That kind of thing. That's the easiest way I can do to describe it. Everything that descends from a lion is a lion, but not everything that lives in the savannah is a lion. Yeah, that probably is a good idea, honestly. So let's make an interface. So phasing ability. For which we will basically need all of this. I think. Pretty much that, actually. Yeah. Okay, that has caused some problems in gaseous form and etherealness, but we'll get to those. Yeah, because we have protected heroes. Now needs to be public. Okay. The distinction between etherealness and incorporeality, by the way, is that etherealness can pass through any phasable block. There's the data pack thing that says what you definitely should never be able to go through. Whereas incorporealness can only go through the outer edge. They have to, like, whenever they are going through a block, there must be a side of that block that is contacting the air. Which means they can go straight through hollow things, but not through the entirety of, like, solid things. They have to go around the outer edge. Whereas etherealness is you can go through it. If it's phasable, you can go through it. There are much fewer ways to get etherealness. Okay. So we have eye phasing ability now, so if we go to all of the places we've got that check for ability phasing, we now need to try and find things that are actually eye phasing ability. Interesting distinction. It's because a cloud of vapor is incorporeal, so the best they can do is touch the outsides of things. But ethereal creature is... Ethereal's like Spectre mode? Pretty much, yeah. Ethereal creatures are, in D&D lore, anyways, they are part of the ethereal plane, which is an overlapping dimension of our world. So they don't have to obey that there is, like, mass in the way of something because they're on a whole other, like, plane of existence. They can just go through. Okay. Get abilities of type if Clef is that. I should be able to just replace ability phasing with eye phasing ability then. Will you accept that? Probably not, because it doesn't extend ability, I think. No? Ah, yeah, de-extensibility. Okay, right. That should solve that. That will potentially cause some problems down the road, but... Yep, that did not... It did not enjoy that. Okay. There we go. Essentially, anywhere that we reference ability phasing for determining if we can phase, want to replace that with eye phasing ability. Because ability phasing is basically just a holder for that. And we only care about the functions that are used in there. If you have any phasing ability, will that accept? Nope, that does need. That also needs that. This is going to potentially cause some problems. We are playing 2D chess, but Goats are playing 3D. That's actually not a bad comparison, so believe it or not. Because two-dimensional universes like Flatland can't see into the third dimension, but we can move through we, being three-dimensional beings, can move through freely, which means that what appears to be a solid wall to a two-dimensional creature, to us, can be a sphere, or a cylinder, or like a star, or all manner of other things. But they only ever see it essentially in Wolfenstein mode. Old OG Wolfenstein mode. I'm gonna have to do some tidying up on this, because there's definitely some things here that are meant more for being corporeal than moving through terrain. So for instance, the phasing abilities previously are just static. They're on. That's why we have an ability called Ghost Form that just adds incorporeal to you. Whereas burrowing is a toggle ability that we want to actually be able to turn on and off. But okay. That should be the start of it. There's no problems leaping out. That's just data packing for the most part. Don't have to worry about that. Okay. Anything else referencing that? Etherealness, gaseous form, incorporeality, and itself. Is for if it ignores magic damage, which I'm actually gonna move into ability phasing. Oop, wrong line. There we go. Does that cause some problems? Probably. Actually no, because it's only referenced here. So yes, that's good. Okay, that's all fine. So now, if we implement phasing ability into here. Oh, implements. There. Add the implemented methods. Is phasable. Let's go over to VOBus server, I think it was, for the mining speed. Nope, it's in the client. That's probably why it was not working on the server side. Oh well. No? Type bus, that's where it was. Okay. Just trying to remember where I put my own code. There we go. Okay. Need to get the block state, check if it is rock or earth. Block material, I think. There. Okay. So, if can borrow stone, and it is rock, or it is earth, which is things like dirt and grass, essentially. Okay. Let's see how much I've hecked things up. And we do still need to figure out how to go down. Hey there. Hope you're having a good night. We've had a bunch of old and familiar faces today. It's lovely. Now, we don't have any recognition of whether Burrow is active at the moment, which we'll need to build in, but... okay. Let's see, that's stone. Oh, but I can't burrow stone, so I would need to actually edit my ability. So let's go there. Oh, there's so much. Okay, that's all fine. Let's see, what did we name it? We named it Allow Stone. I didn't put that in the readout though. Whoops. So I grabbed the wrong two things there. Oh, that's a bug I've already identified. What's the code for it? This is part of a Minecraft mod that turns Minecraft into a heavily Dungeons and Dragons inspired RPG. And we are currently working on the burrowing ability, which will allow players with it to dig through terrain. Like a mole. Or a bullet. How will they dig? We do not know. Well, I leave that to your imagination. Maybe you use your hands. Or maybe you, like, eat it. Or maybe you just turn sideways and just vanish into it. Who knows? Okay, grab that. And now we should be able to say, if we put mine blocks 1B, it should allow us to mine blocks.
A new challenge
Well, actually,
approaches.
that's the wrong word. Allow stone. That's the wrong word. Okay. Okay. So now, click that, should still be there. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so that is slightly hidden behind Carol's foot. And also Rose. Allow stone. Should mean we can walk through this. Don't think it's working. So, okay, next question. Did I also heck up incorporeality? No, I didn't. Although now I'm in the ground. And I can't get out. Help? I've fallen and I can't get up. Wait, am I just on... I think I'm actually on bedrock, essentially. Yeah. If I come back through here... I think I'm 1 block away from bedrock right there. Oh boy. Okay, well, we've definitely got some bug. We have at least an bug. There we go. So if I... Yeah. Oh, well, we figured out how we go down, everybody. There is definitely a bug. But also burrow isn't working at all, so we got some work to do. I have definitely hacked something, that's for sure. Let's see, position is less than or equal to 1. You cannot phase through it, which means essentially you can't fall out of the world. If the block state at that position is an unphasable block, namely things like the end portal, most portals, and bedrock, you also can't. But we also don't seem to have phase. Can phase through and is phaseable. Okay, that's good. Yes, that's all correct. Okay. So one thing I want to do is go through and make sure that burrowing is actually like accounted for as an activated ability. So, look, bring that back open. Imagine trying to climb stairs will have a similar problem. Yeah. So we need to go through these and check if the ability is actually active. So find all of the phasing abilities and check if they're active. Straightforwards for the most part. But we'll get to that in about 10 minutes when I come back from my break. So go grab yourselves a snack and get some exercise, stretch your legs, that kind of thing. Hug a plushie. I'm sure most of you have one. And I'll catch you in a moment. Welcome back, everybody, to the final hour of our evening tonight, and we are currently working on making essentially burrowing, but via way of incorporeality, which is a feature we already have. And we've tried by extrapolating most of the phasing abilities in phasing function into an interface that we can then hook onto whatever we like. And we have we have generated some problems. So we're currently working on that. Hopefully we can figure that out, because I hate to leave things broken for the evening, but yeah, on the event it's entertaining. Hashtag content. Yes, off to my side here we have Box Fox, we have Karen, and we have a Rose, who is very small and babby. Okay, so I've gone through, and every reference to whether or not you have a phasing ability is now a check for whether you have a passive or active phasing ability. So hopefully, nope, we're still going into the ground. This is very fascinating. It's very, you have to be very careful when you're dealing with stuff like incorporeality, for the simple reason that if you're not careful, you do just fall through the wall. So, evidently, I need to do some QA on that. Just gonna remove incorporeality for the time being. Now, can I go through there? Nope. How do I turn it on? No. Interesting. How about if I go over here? Can I go... Nope. I should be able to walk through here, but I can't. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out why that is. Oh, there's one thing I can do real quick, actually. Because anything that, like, asks for, if anything that would give that a null is now just asking is phasing. So we really can just do that. And that shouldn't cause any problems. Hopefully. So that shouldn't be nullable anymore. But okay, so opaque block is not really what we're interested in. Mix in, pushing out of blocks, we're not even getting into them, so that's not the problem. Get collision shape, would it seem to be me the problem? So if we are phasing, get all the phasings, and then check for if any of them can phase through the material that's in question. Fairly straightforward, but apparently is having issues. And it checks the is phasable part, which is the part there where we say, is it rock or earth? So let's run a sys out here to see if this is checking. It's not checking, but we found one of our problems next. Approaching Nirvana songs are such nostalgia. Am I just of that age? Okay. So, burrowing is turned on, but it is not being checked. So there's our problem. The is phasable of ability burrow is not getting checked. And that does extend from there. Good. I'm just gonna mark that as non-null, because if it is, then you shouldn't be using this function. So the next question is something causing this to not register as active? This is an activated ability, so it should be able to read whether or not it's active. So, bleh. Oh, is active? That's a separate thing. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, I think that's the problem. Okay, right. Let's have a quick look at flight, because I'm sure that's had this problem. So, yep, wherever it's active is set by that. But that does not check its that does not check its active ticks. Okay. Will I break anything if I set this to is active? I hope not. No, I will. I will, because that is actually used for a thing to check whether or not you can trigger it. Right. Because if an ability is currently active, you can't trigger it. So you would be able to turn it on, and then you would never be able to turn it off. Unless I just overwrote can trigger, I guess. For activate, for like movement modes. That's probably easier. Honestly. And now flight has a problem because that doesn't work. That doesn't exist. In fact, a few places probably have that problem. That's what I get for renaming a function without actually checking, or without actually refactoring. Yep. In which case we actually don't need to recast that. I thought it's fine. I've probably broken a whole hecking ton already, just by doing that. But here's hoping that I haven't destroyed it entirely, because that would be really a pain. Especially going through all of this and undoing what I'm doing right now. Okay. Hopefully, just removing the is active condition from the can trigger should suffice. Yeah. Okay. Let's find out. In today's installment of Lying Breaks Everything Z. Lying Breaks Everything Control Z. Fun fact though, right now, Control Z wouldn't solve my problem. Because I've closed all of the script. I've closed all of the files that I just edited, so consequently, if I reopen them, there's no clipboard for them. I would have to go through and edit them all manually. Well, let's see if I've at least fixed the problem I was trying for. And there's an issue. Okay. Null pointer on can phase through because position was the position was null somehow. So something was calling this that should have just been checking is phasing. But apparently it was can phased. Ah. Okay. Where is the crash? There, specifically. Was part of... It was part of the mix-in. Is entity inside opaque block from living entity mix-in? Okay. Get abilities of type blap to blap. Okay. And this does correctly check is active. Yes, it could. Okay. Hey, everyone. How you doing? So, yes, can phase. Right there. Null. That should never be null now. Now it should be a case of if you're phasing, then we just assume that you're fine. Gonna leave this open just in case I heck that over again. Okay, is there any other occasion where that's just a null value? Can phase position? Oh, that's fine. Oh, null value right there. Need entity mix in, so let's just change that. That part's fine. Overlay renderer. Also a null. So, if I phasing ability helps if you spell it right, there we go. Is phasing living, then say how to cancel. There. Everywhere that would feed that a null now just asks, are we currently phasing? Hopefully. Hopefully that's all of it. Are we currently phasing doesn't need to know what block you're trying to phase through, so. Hopefully we shouldn't have that problem. So we now have a distinction between able to phase and currently phasing. Okay. Oh, and yay. Side effect of that, active abilities are shown as gold on the HUD readouts. So now it's even clearer if you are currently phasing. But apparently we're not. But we are checking for it on the material. Okay. So that's good, and if I hit one, it turns off. Okay. It's not letting us through, but it is now checking it. Conditionally, no less. Okay. Very good, very good. Next question. Why are we not allowed to burrow? We know it is checking, so let's just tell it to return true for a hot minute. I'm pretty sure if I add incorporeality back, I will still fall directly through the ground, but see if we can get burrowing working for the time being. The hard part with incorporeality is determining things like half slabs, carpets, stairs, whether or not you should phase through them, because they're not a full block in height, so I need to determine exactly what point they stop, but especially with stairs, that's very difficult. So a lot of the time right now, with the current released versions, you just always fall through slabs. Little bit of a pain, not gonna lie, but working on things here. Working on it. Okay, so now now Burrow just lets us go through. Okay, yep, there we go. It's behaving like incorporeality, which is fine. We were looking for that. It's not quite working like incorporeality because we can see entirely through the world, but it's progress. Okay. We do at least go into single player, go into, like, that mode. Okay. So there's still some bugs, but we're getting there. Burrowing now does a thing, for one. So, check what exactly is going on with the material here that's preventing it from working. Let's check blocks and see what material grass and dirt get. Material earth. Okay, which also includes coarse dirt podzol. I'm presuming grass at some stage. Farmland. Soul soil apparently counts as a dirt material, whereas soul sand there? Yeah, soul sand is a sand material. Grass path, but surprisingly, not grass itself. Let's see, grass blocks are material.organic, which is a material shared by warped targets for some strange reason, shroomlight, neverwort blocks, mycelium, hay blocks, and grass blocks, as well as dried kelp. Interesting. So we need to actually account for that in our burrowing ability. That's why we couldn't go through the grass. Actually, I should just get the material here because I use it pretty exclusively. There. Okay, that should now mean that we can phase through grass and dirt. Should being the operative word. You'd think that it would be material dirt, but apparently not. Apparently not. Also, oh, it's the material color I'm looking at there, that's fine. I was just gonna say, apparently different planks are different materials. No, they're all wood. Which you learn real quickly if you happen to have giant rats in the air. Okay, all of that looks good now. It's not a problem if you're able to go through that whilst tunneling. I think that's fine. Okay, next question. We seemed to have a problem with how we were viewing things when phasing. So, the block overlay is fine. We don't mind that too much. But clearly there was a problem with world rendering when we were doing that. And I'm guessing it's part of is blind, which is a helper function that just asks, are we currently blind? In-wall block state. Aha, there we are. That's the problem. Phasing. Again, we just need to ask, are we actively phasing right now? Was I ability phasing? Phasing ability? No? There we go. Is phasing. Player. That should mean that we're actually able to not see the entire world. When we have our head literally buried in the ground. Doesn't solve the fact that we're falling through the ground right now, but spurs. The fact that we can fall through the ground is an important step. And believe it or not, being able to toggle whether or not you fall directly to the bottom of the world is good progress here. Okay, can we? Yep, we can, and that's how we want it to look. Good. And if I turn burrowing off, we can no longer do that, and we can walk around on the terrain happily as can be. Good, good, good. We can kind of ascend by turning that off. Okay. Good to see, good to see. Okay, good progress, good progress. So now we just have to solve why do we fall directly through the ground. Which we're not currently because this is not a phasable material. But I think this is marked as unphasable. As are a few other things, like command blocks and such. Can't phase through these, under no circumstances. Barriers also do it. Okay. Good progress, good progress. But we do need to solve falling clean through the world. Which should be a matter of just let's see, ability phasing. Where are you? Should have a big long thing somewhere, like incorporeality. Yep, there you are. Is phasable. All that business. This big long thing determines whether or not there is a block on the outside that we don't need to worry about phasing through, which is the limitation of incorporeality. Etherealness has a very similar thing, just checks if the Y position of that is less than or equal to that. Or you're sneaking, which is a different thing. Let's see if etherealness is working currently then. Etherealness, if you hadn't guessed, is basically free no clip. It's a very hard ability to get. Basically nothing has it. Even less that's normally playable by players. But let's see if that is currently functioning. As intended, at least. We might just fall all the way through the ground again. But it's a different predicate than with incorporeality. And Ghost Form doesn't even let you do it. Ghost Form is a phasing ability, but it doesn't actually let you phase. So remove burrow. Yep. And add etherealness. Okay. So this works as intended. I can run through anything that isn't an unphasable block, which includes the edge of this portal. And I only go down if I so desire it. Well. Ish. Can't go below the last block though. So that's good. Okay, so it is the predicates. The thing that's the part that we need to fix a little bit. I wonder if it's worth having it be the same predicate as this. just sort of in addition. So we go to our burrow ability. I wonder if it's worth saying, if it is either of these things, then check if we're sneaking or it's of the same altitude or low or higher. That would then mean going down is just a matter of holding sneak. I think that's possibly the best idea. It's only like I kind of would prefer it to be more like you're swimming through the ground, if that makes any sense. So your motion is dependent upon like the angle that you're looking, rather than just walking about, making perfectly straight tunnels, essentially. But for now, let's just ask for that. With the default to false. Hi, Luca. Did you fall asleep? Okay, that should prevent us from falling straight through the ground. So we have a boolean inside of the ability that lets us go through stone materials as well as earth and organic ones. We have not implemented whether or not the blocks you go through get mined just yet. What did you miss? We identified why we were falling to the bottom of the world every time. And then also why we weren't. Okay, so add burrowing back. So nothing happens, and then we activate it. And still nothing happens, because we haven't held shift, but we should be able to go, yep, not into that, good. But if I hold shift, we go down. But we can still come up again. Okay. Good, good, good. And if I click to modify, I can ask, let's see, allow stone 1B. That should mean I can go through this now. Or not at all. Do I somehow have burrowing twice now? I don't, it's just not... It just didn't work with that saving, which is fine. Let's see, burrowing. And let's merge the data there with allow stone 1B. Is it allow stone? Yes, it is allow stone. Okay. Why am I not able here? Because it's still not there for some reason. Okay. List all of them. Check that. Yep, it is there. Okay. Why am I not able to go through this then? I should be able to go through this. I can go through the ground beneath it. But I can't go through that. Kind of a significant thing to be able to do. So okay, there is a problem. Can burrow stone. Allow stone, get boolean, yes. Put boolean, yes. and material is rock. Perchance is stone not actually a rock material? No, it is a rock material. Okay. So why are we not able to go through this? Because it's still deciding it doesn't want to, apparently. Yeah, I think there's a bug here. I think I need to mark the cache as dirty. I think that's probably it. Cache, yep. What's that? It is marked as dirty. Okay, so the command does mark it for recache. It's just for some reason it doesn't, as near as I can tell. So consequently, the ability on the server end at least does not understand that we should be able to go through, and so doesn't let us. Interesting. Out of curiosity, are these materials enums or... No, they're variables, so I can't run a switch on them, which would be convenient as heck, but oh well. Okay, let's check our ability now. Does not have allow stone in it. Nothing I changed should really alter it in that regard, but... Yeah, allow stone does not get stored. Interesting. As near as I can tell, anyways. Can burrow stone equals that. Yep, get allow stone. Get boolean. Put boolean. Yes. Yes. As near as I can tell, this should be storing just fine. It just isn't. We can engage it, we can go for the ground, but we can't go for stone. Also, yeah, this doesn't... And in terms of like a player experience, this feels more like phasing than it does burrowing. Like, on the one hand, you probably should be able to know where you're going. On the other hand, this still feels just like I'm blind. Like, this is almost the exact sensation of being blind, actually. Although this is reused for blindness. I just feel like you should be swimming more. I guess if you were swimming, you'd also only make tunnels that were 1 block tall. But yeah, like the bullet is known as the land shark. And I feel like the bullet is the archetypal burrower. So if we want players and such to be able to burrow, then we ideally need to like implement much of the same way that they move, and they move more like they're swimming. Not sure. That would require a substantial ton of work to do. Whereas this is functional. Obviously not for, like, stone right now, but it's functional. Also, let me just shut you up real quick. Like, we can definitely go where we want to go. There's that. Hi, how you doing? Okay, real quick then. We'll presume stone by default for the time being, so I can figure out why that's not actually able to get anywhere. And we'll see about working on getting it to break blocks. So public void add listeners. Okay. And public void tunnel blocks. This will be a living update event, I believe. Okay. So if I phasing ability dot is phasing event get living, and we specifically want to get the burrowing ability actually, check if that's active, because I don't know how you would have multiple phasing abilities that would be active simultaneously, but we want to make sure it's specifically a phasing ability. Or we want to make sure it's specifically the burrowing ability. So get ability by name from the entity if it's active. There we go. Using a command to give yourself both abilities. I mean, yes. If theoretically, under that circumstance, you'd have everything you could possibly want. But under standard gameplay scenarios and expectations, you probably will not have multiple phasing abilities. Probably. Okay. We want to now check the top and bottom, and ideally every block in between if you're a particularly large individual. We want to check first if the burrow ability can burrow through stone, or rather can leave a tunnel. Okay, so if burrow leaves a tunnel, then for int I equals 0, I is lower, then we probably should just grab the living entity here because we are using it a lot. Oh, not the listener, the living. Thank you. Grab the living. Thank you very much. Okay, living. height. I plus plus. There. Okay. I think that's correct. It might break. That might break a block above you. Not 100%. We'll find out, I guess. Okay. So if this dot can phase living get worlds living dot get position dot add 0i0 and living. So if it's a block that we can phase through using the burrow ability, specifically that one, then we want to tell the wall to break it. So let's see, which probably was getting block position. Okay. Hopefully Leaves Tunnel is a thing that works for the time being. I think that'll work. Yeah, we probably also want to actually mandate, like, hardness. Because right now, if Obsidian wasn't in the listings as an unphasable block, then I think you could tunnel through it. Let's see. Yeah, if Obsidian wasn't marked as unphasable, you could tunnel through that and just get free Obsidian. So we probably do want to have some restrictions. But for right now, it's fine. Like, things you could mine using, say, a stone pickaxe. In which case it's not a huge advantage, it's just saving you time. So must be rock, organic, or dirt, and must be mineable with like a stone tool. So let's see if we can actually modify this ability, because apparently that part's bugged somewhere. So let's see. Is mine blocks. Okay, yep, mine blocks is right there. Good. Burrowing. Not seeing anything happen. Did it not stick? It didn't stick. Okay. Ooh. I bet I know what's going on. This part is working fine, and the cache is working fine, but because they have the same source ID, they're not actually overriding what's there in the cache. And because they're not overriding what's in the cache, they're not able to actually go through and do the thing. I think that's it. Okay. Doubler? Sort of. Okay, so we need to uncache the ability when we remove it. which needs a resource location. Okay. That directly removes it from the cache outside of the actual normal update, so it should mean that it works. Hopefully. Because now it will be found as a new ability, so it shouldn't, it should actually still work. Basically, we have to allow for the cache, the abilities in the cache to deviate from what they initially started out as in the custom abilities list, so that you can actually store data in them and use that. So, for instance, you might be able to use an ability to set a position. That position has to stay the same until such time as we edit it in the source. Okay. Come on. If I'm right, and I've gotten that correct, then I've just fixed that problem, and we should also be able to mine for, like, go for stone. So, abilities, dev, list, burrow. Let's say allow stone. 1B. Okay, briefly flickered there. I'm going to take that as a good sign, in which case I should be able to walk straight through this. Huzzah and jubilation. Okay. And if I then say mine blocks. Okay. Moment of truth. Can I mine directly through this wall? Yes, I can. Oh, that's good. That's good. Bonus, it didn't give me stone, it gave me cobble, which is also good. You don't want we don't want to give people free silk touch. Okay. Grand. We've got it. We've got burrowing. It's not, as I say, it's not quite as I would prefer it to be. I would very much prefer it to actually feel more like you're swimming than actually like just waltzing through the terrain, essentially. That would also create tunnels that were more curved and whatnot rather than just like straight down. But hey, that's good. We got it. It works. At the very least, we can now just, like, new. Another thing I need to do, actually, is prevent you from sprinting when you're doing that. But the main thing is that it works at all. So, take that as good. Take that as good. So, let me see. I'm gonna lock that down as fine-tune. Burrowing. So we need no sprinting, more swimming-esque, and hardness. Should we say hardness? Or like stone tool? Stone tool or lower. Only. There. Can't force people into crawl mode? Oh, I can. I have mixed experience with the pose system as it is currently, so I need to be a little careful there. But crawl mode would be good, yeah. Like, you start burrowing and you immediately go into crawl position. That'd be entertaining. Anyways, that is all I've got for tonight. Next week, we will start working on templates, and hopefully I'll be able to show off some fine-tuning on burrowing. Maybe even the entirety of the swimming ability, who knows. But we want to get templates working, because then I will actually be at the point where I can start doing videos again more frequently. I haven't been able to do videos because somebody who might be in chat right now has basically shopped various oddities around to a whole ton of people, and made a bunch of statements and promises that I'm trying to keep. So I'm trying to get the creature types and the species and the template and stuff all working, and then I can get back to making other content. Otherwise, my next stream will hopefully be tomorrow with some Block Home bonus, but keep an eye out on twitter.com/lyinginbedmon for that. Otherwise, my next stream will most certainly be on the Thursday with some Among Us with the Wilder Madness crew, and then on Saturday we should have the Carousel at the same time, playing some random games with the patrons, and we'll be back for more of this on Tuesday at 9. Meanwhile, I do make videos, as I just said, very occasionally, over at youtube.com/remembercomic, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. And as ever, this month we have a brand new donation goal, which is once again to pay for my medication. Hits keep coming and they don't stop coming. So yeah, but that medication allows me to function happily and comfortably most of the time, at least. So yay. Other than that, that's all I got. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. Tiny fucks.